everybody, thank you so much for joining me. I am extra perky today because I have just gone and put on this whole full face for you, and it's using this It Girl beauty book from It Cosmetics. This would be the ultimate thing that It Cosmetics puts out for the holiday season, or frankly, for the year. This was last year's, this is this year's, and throughout this whole video, I'm going to be taking you through comparisons of what's in this year's, how it's improved. You will see this full face look come together with the addition of just a couple of other products. It's amazing because what you have in here, my friends, are concealers, powder, bronzer, lip colors, blush, highlight, and a whole bunch of eyeshadows, plus brow color and eyeliner. This is fun. My multitasking self is going crazy that they did this again this year and offered different things in it. It is magnetic closure, by the way, here, and I love how every panel is able to be kept totally separate. Nothing is folding in on a product, so I love that. You know what I mean by that, like there are no eyeshadows and lipsticks directly coming right up against your powders, let's say. There is something dividing everything. And before they came out with this style, do you remember what it was like? A little black case. It kind of looked like something you might pick up at Walmart, and it had a lot of stuff inside, and it was really good It Cosmetics quality things, but everything kind of folded out and it was a little more bulky. Last year with this one, I mean, I think they really rethought everything, gave it such a practical, easy design, and now they've bumped it up a notch. By the way, the cost on this is $55, but right now at the time I'm shooting this, it says featured price $49.98. I think I got in on this on a day when it might have even been bumped a little lower than that. In my eyes, this is a tremendous bargain and a wonderful gift. So here we go with the whole look. All right, everybody, so to start this thing off, I am going to use my It Cosmetics CC Plus Oil-Free Matte with the SPF 40. I thought I'd keep it in the spirit of It Cosmetics since a lot of It Cosmetics fans are probably tuned into this video. So this is one of the very few additional items I'll be using on top of this palette. So I'm using one full pump of my CC cream, and I wear this in medium. I actually haven't worn this stuff in a while, but I've had really good luck with pretty much all of the different options that you can get, whether it's the traditional CC cream, which my mom uses every day and loves. You can get the illumination version, which I think is special in its own way. Do they still make the bronze? Because I've used that like on its own or mixed in with things in the summer months especially. But this is the matte, and it feels, maybe just because of the matte finish, the most foundation-y of all of them. But I'm just blending it in with my Sephora Pro Mini Flawless Airbrush. Had a late night last night, y'all. Oh, pretty tame night. I mean, I was at a fundraiser for a town's canine, which was a really cool thing. Yes, the dog was there and was amazing. But it was like a big dinner and live auction, silent auction. Got to see some friends, which was nice. Got to meet a lovely member of this beauty broadcast family as well. So it was a really good time, and it was kind of fun to get all dolled up for something, even though it was kind of like it was a fairly casual event. I wore like a sweater dress and boots. So I think I'm all blended in there, but another perk of the CC creams, I think, is that it's moisturizer and your coverage all together if you want it to be. I put on a little extra moisturizer underneath that I already put on before starting the video, because it's really getting to that time of year where I can feel the dryness in my skin. The air is just getting drier, it's getting colder all the time. So I feel like I can benefit from a little extra. Also, you guys know I've finished Dawson's Creek. Do you miss me talking about Dawson's Creek all the time? But I feel really like Jen from Dawson's Creek today because I've got this little sweater on with the round zipper pull, and it's giving me a real 90s feel. It's very, very dark green. I don't know if you can tell in this lighting. I got it from Walmart. I got two of them. I love the way they fit. They're just a nice lightweight sweater. This is probably no boundaries, but the Time and True line, I've found so many good things, like just thermals and leggings. I live for the jeggings with the pockets on them. This is going to turn into a really long video if I keep going. Onto the palette. This is the It Girl Beauty Book, okay? This is rose gold this year. Last year it was silver. I'm just going to say it, for my preferences, for the things I like, this year's beauty book is even better than before. They've packed more things in it. The kinds of things that I would want to have, they're here. But I'm going to start here focusing on these correctors. And these are the Bye Bye Under Eye Correcting Pots. You get Fair Light, Medium Tan, and Tan Rich. Now the Tan Rich colors seem to be the same from the first year to this year, but they bumped the Fair Light shade substantially lighter than the lightest color in last year's. And then the Medium Tan shade, they're calling that Medium Tan instead of just Medium, medium. I can see a little peachy tone in this, just actually a little lighter overall, which is odd because they've integrated the word tan in the title and yet it's still lighter. But in my opinion, it is very unique to have a multitasking palette that has these coverage offerings in here. There's one of two ways to look at this. You can see it and say, well, 3 shades isn't going to cater to everybody, but at the same time you get all 3 shades, so that can kind of help you adjust a little bit. And they went lighter with the lightest shade, so I think that does broaden your range on that end of the spectrum. But then on the deeper end of the spectrum, there may be skin tones that still are not fully addressed by that darkest shade. So you kind of got to look at this and think, where do my priorities lie? Do I already have some concealers I love in case those don't work out? But all in all, it's a fairly small footprint in the scope of the entire palette. It's just right up here. It is side by side with some powder, so some powder kick up might get in there. I'm not a huge fan of that. I love it when creams are protected if they're going to be side by side with powders in a palette, but still the compact nature of this, the overall multitasking nature of this palette, it's worth it to me, I think, to have them in here. So I'm going to go into the medium tan shade mostly, and I'm going to get that around these caverns here that could use a lot of brightening today. Also, any like bit of melasma I can see. This is a really good tone for me to be able to correct these things. And then I can further brighten things up with the Fair Light. So I can take some of that, and in areas where I might want to highlight, like just down the nose, or a little additional brightness like right in here. When it comes time to blend, you know, I think that'll look nice. A little on the chin perhaps. And if I really wanted to go there, I could probably do some cream contouring with the Tan Rich shade. But for right now, what I'm going to do is go back to my Sephora Pro Mini Flawless Airbrush and just get this all blended in. The textures are very nice to work with, and I can tell you that the textures have stayed nice from last year's palette too. They have not like gone dry, or just because they're not in a pot with a twist off cap, like nothing's really changed about the formula. So that is good to see. It's very creamy, very good coverage, I feel like. But like I remember saying last year, they're not dead on shade wise with what you might buy individually in one of those pots. But I think they've also had to kind of make some combination shades, you know, like Fair Light and Medium Tan. They've maybe had to customize things a bit more to suit a broader group of people, you know. Can you guys hear that owl outside? I feel like it's like right outside my window. Can't be right outside my window, but we have some trees kind of close. I love hearing that. Does it feel any more fall to be doing your makeup when it's still dark outside, drinking your coffee and listening to an owl? I'm in one of those moods today. One of those kind of moods. I keep telling Mom I need to get her a small tapered brush and an e.l.f. complexion brush as well. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into my translucent here. So we have a Bye Bye Pores pressed, and I will say it is an improved texture from last year. I thought I mentioned last year how, you know, it gets the job done for a matte translucent powder, but it didn't feel quite as soft as what I'd had individually. And last year they gave a lot of real estate to the inner light cream highlight here, and then here was your Bye Bye Pores pressed. This year, love what they've done. They've still given you a big Bye Bye Pores pressed, which feels exactly like it should, and then a Bye Bye Pores bronzer in Honey Glow. And so this has a slight ombre effect. Can you see that? A little deeper toward the bottom, a little lighter toward the top. Love it! Great idea, IT Cosmetics. I'm going to take some of the Bye Bye Pores pressed, and I'm going to use that to set my under eye. I don't know if any of you guys have used a lot of this particular powder on its own, but I think it's really handy. As you would expect a translucent powder to do, it does not show up with color on your skin. You know, it's just going to be something, in my opinion, that retexturizes things a little bit. So if you feel like you're a little tacky from the concealer under your eye or from any foundation you've put all over your skin, you can take this and just get yourself all taken care of. And look at the size of the pan. I mean, that is plenty big. I mean, it reminds me of the size of just a powder compact that you might open up. So I'm just using this lightly all over my skin. You can see it's not giving me any kind of like grayish or unusual cast. It's staying pretty invisible, but overall mattifying me a little bit more. Then I'm going to go into my Bye Bye Pores bronzer here, and we had no bronzer in the last collection, so this is really great, and they've given a lot of space to it. And I'm just going to take this along the hairline here. It's great color payoff with this. I think this would suit a wide range of skin tones because it is pigmented. People like me can use a little lighter hand with this and get an effect, and then I think darker skin tones would definitely see this on their skin as well. I was using this last night when I was getting ready for that event, and I contoured the heck out of my skin with it, and I thought it looked great. Again, just using my e.l.f. complexion brush here, taking it almost like up onto the cheeks. I think that's a really pretty color to do that with. And I'm kind of focusing my brush also sort of toward the top of the product. So I'm getting probably the lighter end of the color tone. And if you're really into multitasking, this could definitely be an additional eyeshadow in the mix when we get there. Not that I think you need to be searching the palette for extra shadow options, but it's there. And then, you know, you don't be stingy with the bronzer. Take it on down the neck. You got plenty in there. Are you guys ready to open up another panel of the palette? Are you ready? Here it comes. Boom! We have a big, big blush. It's an It Girl blush in Je ne sais quoi, and we have a Hello Light highlight down here in Brilliant, and then we have 3 lip colors above that. So how did this change from last year? Well, they only gave us 3 lip colors, which is fine by me. Looking back, if it meant getting a powder highlight instead of the 6 lip colors from last year, I'm totally cool with that. And they still gave us a giant blush. There is one overlapping shade with lip color, and that is the color Live. We had that last year right here. It's that rosy color. But this year we're also getting Pure Bliss, which is a really soft pink, and then also Pure Joy. And these are the Blurred Lines lipsticks, and I'm pretty sure Pure Joy is one that I have individually. But they're beautiful. They feel like lip balms going on. They're very comfortable. There is a nice amount of pigment to them. These particular shades, I mean, nothing's too dark or too bright to where I think you absolutely need a lip brush with them. I think you can dab them on with your fingers if you want to, but a lip brush obviously gives you more precision. But I'm totally in favor of having 3 so we could get a powder highlight. And then look at the blush comparison here. This blush is definitely a little more pigment, a little more vibrancy with this one in this year's collection. It's really pretty and fresh, and I like how it has that ombre effect again. It's not quite up to a complete highlighter looking shade, but it goes to a much lighter pink at the top. So I kind of dab over everything, and then we'll get this right here on the cheek. Comes off like a satin finish blush, which I really like. I think it's very flattering. I feel like I could really use the blush this morning because I'm still pretty tired. It only took a week for me for the effects of daylight savings to kind of wear off, and now I'm like, okay, I'm waking up tired again. But this is a beautiful color. It's lively. It's nice. I think whenever they do this ombre thing, they're really doing their product users a service, because then you can really customize the shade to what you want. Now, as I showed you guys, last year's highlight was a big cream highlight, and if you wanted to use a powder highlight, you kind of had to zone in on a certain eyeshadow in the collection to get that. But now they've got their Hello Light highlighter in Brilliant right down here, and it is truly beautiful. Love this. It is such a good formula, you guys. Like, it shines, but when you look closely at it, it doesn't really look like anything. Like, honestly, it is not like a makeup-y, chunky texture. I am so glad this is in here. This is such an asset to the palette. And somebody was telling me the other day, whenever I get a multitasking thing, I never find myself actually using all the elements of it. Well, this may be something where you do. It's a total travel buddy type palette. If you are on the go all the time, what a great thing to keep on you. I'm gonna put a little here on the Cupid's bow, and then I just kind of dust over that. That is a highlight I think a lot of people could feel comfortable wearing. It can really go there from a glow perspective, but at the same time, it does not look like makeup on the skin. Now here is our last panel, and it is eyes. We do have a mirror over here that's totally usable, but I'll try to get that out of our way so we can look at what's happening here. We do have 9 eyeshadows right there in the center, and then we have something labeled Superhero Eye Foundation, which is this big matte shade that can kind of, you know, be used all over the lids and sort of neutralize things. We have something labeled Superhero Liner, and also the Brow Power Powder, which is a new addition this year. Last year, just to show you, they did an eye foundation shade that was a little bit deeper and more peachy, and then our 2 shades down here were both labeled Superhero Liners, but one was brown and one was black. So in this, we get the black, and then we get this sort of taupey universal brow powder shade, and I'm gonna go ahead and use that in my brows today. Now, one thing I'm gonna do first, because I think this is important, if you have a wax pencil, now is a great time to use that, because you can prep your brows before you go straight in with that brow powder, and it's gonna have something to stick to. You're gonna have better staying power and intensity. So if you can find one of these brow wax pencils, Wet n Wild makes it, Milani makes it. This is from Milani, and it's called the Brow Shaping Clear Wax. You might even have some different like eyebrow palettes that have a little wax in there. But I would say get something on the brows, kind of brush through to make sure it's evenly in there, and then go in with the brow powder. So I'm just gonna get a quick fill in out of this with my angled brush. Doesn't have to be this particular brush, but you know, whatever you got. It's filling in really well and really quickly. I mean, powders are easy to work with, but I highly suggest bringing in a wax first. I think my mom, who typically goes for the blonde option in any brow product, would actually be able to use this shade. It's buildable. I can see how you could get less intensity or more intensity out of that. I'm also going to take this opportunity to tell you that I am so into Friday Night Lights. We just started season 3 though, and the way season 2 ended, it made me feel like, did I miss something? Like, I don't know. It seemed like kind of a strange jump off into the next season. I don't want to talk about it too much and ruin stuff for people who are just now getting into it, but again, I can't say it enough. The actors on that show are so good. I was really glad though that Julie spoke up for Riggins and told her dad what he did for her, so he didn't go around thinking that he was a bad guy, because I thought Riggins really stepped up in that moment at that party. That's all I want to say about that. Riggins seems like a bad boy, but he has such a good heart. I feel like his intention is usually in the right place. So here we are, brows filled in on top of that wax. I don't think I'm going to go over this anymore, even with any gel, because the wax will give me hold. So who's keeping track here? The only things I've used outside this palette have been the CC cream, the brow wax, and I'm going to use a little eye primer too. I can't get over my glowing cheeks right now. It's a combo here of the blush and the highlight. The blush was radiant as all get out, and now the highlight is just shining from the rooftops. But the owl stopped hooting, so. I did my nails the other day. This is a Butter London shade. I can't remember what the shade name is, which is super helpful, I know, but kind of a pretty color, huh? Just gotta pat myself on the back for actually doing my nails for like the 3rd time this year. It's only November. I've done some analysis of the eyeshadows that are in here about what is maybe a repeat shade or not. You got a matte up here, obviously, in your Superhero Eye Foundation. You've got a matte down here with the Superhero Liner, but within the cluster of 9 shades, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 mattes, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shimmers. The shimmers did come to play, I must say. While they're pretty pigmented, they're all kind of on the light color spectrum. A goldeny shade, a pinky shade, a really intense light color up here that has a little bit of beige in it, and then a goldeny color that isn't so yellowy gold as the one in the It Girl palette from Ulta. This to me is a very wearable gold that mixes in with everything so nicely. But what I was going to say about the mattes is that they are the same feeling formula as what you get from the It Cosmetics Naturally Pretty palettes. In fact, All Heart is a repeat shade from that original palette, but everything else seems to be its own thing. Gracious down here is kind of a dark neutral brown. It's got a little bit of a seemingly shimmer in it, but it kind of performs pretty matte to me. But you guys know me, I love the addition of purple. All Heart was probably one of my favorite shades out of that Naturally Pretty palette, and I think that looks so pretty when you blend it in with that shade or a little bit of the pink. You can definitely bypass the plummy colors and do something a little more gold, soft brown, whatever. And I tell you what, since I have a picture of the plummy look that I've already done, and it was a very satisfying plum look, I must say. Since I already have done that, I'll do something a little more like just neutral golden. I might do a little bit of All Heart in this look. Now, as you're using this palette and you want to just use the eyeshadow side, let's say, you can fold it up this way so that those 2 sides are coming together, and then sit it back like that and hold it this way in front of you, and that's kind of a good way to get use out of the mirror, I think. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to use Cozy first in my crease. This is kind of like a barely there soft beige. Kind of a nice, you know, transition-y color. I have always really enjoyed the way these It Cosmetics matte shadows blend. I kind of want to bust out my Naturally Pretty palettes again and sort of rediscover them, because I thought they did do a good job of putting a nice variety of mattes in there to where, you know, you could get your all matte looks but you weren't bored with them. At least that's the way I felt. Now I'm going to use this matte color called Poise. Lot of powderiness on that one, FYI. And I'm using that as a little bit of a highlight here. I'm going to use some All Heart, which is kind of like a, I don't know, a deep mauve-y, kind of cinnamon color. I don't know why that word just popped into my head, but it's like a really dusty burgundy, maybe you'd call it. I'm gonna get some of that in my outer corner. And in busting out this look, as you look at the color tones here, you can see like this isn't gonna create some kind of off the wall, really different look. It's really basic kind of everyday tones with a little splash of plum. So you're not gonna see me creating anything really wild here. So whether or not you take any real creative inspiration from what I'm doing, at least you will see like this is a way in which I use a lot of eyeshadows, and you can see the fact that it is building up really well and really blending out how I would expect it to, you know. Thoughtful is this kind of soft gold, this muted gold, let's call that. And I'm gonna put that on my lid. Really pretty. Even though there's a sheen to it, it's not like a super loud metallic, not like a really, really foiled shade. It's just got a nice shimmer. So that's all over the lid. I think I will pull in some more of the All Heart shade for the outer corner, because I do think those two shades work nicely together. Keeping it simple, I'm going to take more All Heart on the lower lash line. Such an easy look, you guys. So simple. I feel like I enjoyed the color selection last year, but I like it even better this year with the addition of All Heart and Muse, which is our like plummy color in the center. I'm using a little bit of Gracious here, which is kind of that wild card shade that I mentioned earlier. At a glance in the palette, it looks like it has a little very, very fine shimmer in it, but actually on the eyes, I would say it performs like a really cool matte brown. In fact, let's see what we can do to bump up our outer corner with some of that. Got my little Morphe outer corner brush here. Go into that. Just kind of getting right there in the outside and then pulling up kind of in the direction of the outer corner of the brow. And give yourself a little eye lift that way. And I will just buff out my outer edge with the bare brush. I'm just grabbing a little bit of that Thoughtful shade, which is gold. It's such a thoughtful shade. And just dabbing that on my lid again, just to reinforce. And then I'm going to use my superhero liner here, everybody, with an angled liner brush. And I'm just going to go across my upper lash line with that. Keep in mind this can be a black eyeshadow, just generally speaking too. Or you could wet your brush and get an even more like probably opaque, intense impact out of this. But I'm just showing you how if you want to use eyeshadow as a eyeliner, it's pretty easy, and I'm staying really close to my lash line. I just kind of like to stamp it on, you know. There's no real blending needed. It's just a matter of applying the product. So next up, I'm just going to put on my mascara, maybe some lashes, and then I'll join you for the lip colors. So here we are with the finished eye look. I did my mascara. It was the NARS Climax, and then I put on my Ardell Wispies just because I was feeling like going there today. I also took a little bit of Love Letter because I forgot to do this on camera, as I so often do. I took that around my innermost corner there, and I thought that was a brilliant inner corner highlight. And I used my Wet n Wild Ultimate Brow Highlight in my lower inner rim. So now we're gonna move on to lips. So we're backing it up to the second panel there. So your shades are Live, Pure Bliss, and then Pure Joy right here. Pure Joy has a little bit of a shimmer to it. The other two are just creamy shades. And these are those Blurred Lines lipsticks, which are really, really nice and super comfortable. So fewer of them this year, but it's making room to have that powder highlight, which I'm really happy about. So which shade should I use today? We could go plummy, pink, or rosy red. I think we'll try the rosy red. Now these are very like lip balmy lipsticks. I think they could be managed with your finger, but I'm gonna go ahead and use a lip brush with this. I just want to show you a really full-on application. Of course, you could blend these different shades if you want to, but let's just focus in on one and show you what that looks like. So this is again the shade called Live. And the nice thing about a lip palette is its really only limit is your imagination, because you could combine these shades any way you want to create different shades, and it's just as easy as dunking your brush or your finger into a different color, you know? So I don't think you need to feel limited. Has anybody heard that Kelsey Ballerini song with the Chainsmokers? It's really good. Really good. Catchy. It's in my head. Well, I'm feeling festive. How about you? Seriously, so comfortable. really creamy, but not too greasy creamy, if you know what I mean. So may I just recap what happened here? I used this It Girl Beauty book for all of those steps, and on top of it, the only other things I pulled in were my CC cream, and then like a few little accessory products here, a brow wax. You wouldn't have to always use the Wet n Wild Ultimate Brow Highlight, but I did today. I do think you want to use an eye primer, and a mascara, some lashes if you want them. That's it. Can you get over the tiny footprint this stuff actually would take up in your makeup bag or your travel bag? Not to mention this is gorgeous. I think it would make a great gift. It does come in a little gift box with a bow on it. Under $50, I would highly recommend this. This is definitely one of my top picks for the holiday season. I really don't think they skimped on the quality for this product. Concealers in here where you may hit a bit of a snag thinking, well, maybe that's not my ideal shade, but I do think a little mixing could possibly help you there. I love the intensity and the bronzer and the blush and the highlight as well. I'm really into that shade selection for the eyeshadows also. I think it's just beautiful. So I hope this was helpful, you guys. Thank you so much for taking time to watch, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.